Dear student, welcome to this module of e-lesson on food service systems. Today you have chosen to read the lesson on food service systems. A food service system is one where food can be produced in quantity through a number of different ways depending on the size, policy and type of catering establishment. The principles underlying in the method of preparing and serving food remains unchanged whether it is a large or small establishment, but if a system is followed, the large volume of food to be handled, cooked, dished out and served within a cost structure is made easier, and hence food service systems are commonly practiced throughout the globe. When you complete this lesson, you should be able to understand a food service system, learn the characteristics of a food service system, know the various types and assess the advantages and disadvantages. Let us learn some characteristics of food service that make it unique compared to production of other products. The uniqueness influences decisions that are made about production and service. Some of these characteristics are: the demand for food can occur at peak times. The demand for food may vary depending on the time of the year or during events. The food production and service can be labor intensive. Both skilled and unskilled labor is needed, and menus can be changed on a daily basis, and hence production also changes daily. These changes create everyday challenges in scheduling employees, and production becomes difficult based on staffing, and therefore high labor and food cost is seen in food service institutions. Before we go to the different food service systems, let us understand the flow of food in a food service system. Food flows through 10 possible processes, namely menu planning, which is followed by purchasing. After purchasing, the goods are received, then they are stored. After storing, they go for preparation or the pre-preparation, the final production or the cooking part. Then the cooked product is held either at cold or hot temperatures. Then it goes for serving, cooling and again reheating. All these processes do not apply to all of the systems. When food production is centralized, a transporting process needs to be added. With a centralized food service system, there will be different processes for the central food production facility and the receiving kitchens. Let us see how the form of food is purchased. Another concept that is important to the understanding of systems is the form in which the food is purchased. For example, if food were purchased at the none end of the continuum, the ingredients for a product would be purchased. On the other hand, if food were purchased at the complete end, the food product would be ready to eat or serve. Now, the purchasing decisions differ depending on the type of food service system that is in place. For example, with centralized food production, food is more likely to be purchased from the left end of the continuum, that is, with little or no processing. The processing of food preparation will be done in the central kitchen. This often represents a substantial food cost saving. Food cost and labor cost usually are inversely related. As one goes up, the other one goes down. If the quantities of food produced are very high, as in the case of a large central kitchen, productivity will increase, making labor costs more reasonable. In the assembly food service system, food is purchased at the complete end of the food processing continuum. That means food costs are high but less labor is required, so labor cost decreases. Now let us go to the main body of our lesson, the different types of food service systems. The different types of food service systems are 4, and these are conventional food service system, commissary food service system, ready prepared and assembly served food service system. First, let us see the conventional food service system. The conventional food service system is most common, although that is changing due to the current operating environment. In conventional food service systems, ingredients are assembled and food is produced on site. It is either heated or held chilled and then served to customers. As seen in this figure, food is purchased all along the food processing continuum. For example, some items may be purchased from the none end and require full preparation, and other items may be purchased fully prepared, only requiring portioning and service. Conventional food service systems are used extensively in schools, restaurants, colleges, universities and cafeterias. Because of the current labor shortage, many of these conventional food service systems are using more and more food products from the complete end of the food processing continuum. The advantages of conventional food service systems are several. The first one is high degree of perceived quality. This system makes people think that food is fresh and homemade, and therefore people often equate it with quality. The second one is flexibility in menu items. Any menu item can be included on the menu because food is prepared on site and is served soon after production. Food can be served hot after preparation, which means that often freezing, chilling or reheating typically does not impact the quality of the food product. The fourth one is traditional standardized recipes can be used. There is a little need to modify recipes for chilling and reheating or extremely large production quantities. This means that there will be a large number of standardized quantity recipes available for use. This system also has its own disadvantages. The system is labor intensive. With conventional systems, preparation is timed in relation when the food will be served and eaten, and therefore the system is more affected by the peaks and low demand for food than any of the other systems. More labor will need to be scheduled during peak times, making the cost of labor higher for this system than for any of the other food service systems. The second is consistency. There may be great variability in food quality, portion sizes and food costs due to unskilled labor. Higher food costs can be a problem in these systems. Higher costs could result because there is less control of portion sizes, more deliveries are required by the vendors, and waste may be greater. There may be more total inventory since it is dispersed across locations. Next is food safety. The issue of food safety can be a problem here because there is less control over food safety in conventional food service systems compared to other food service systems. There are more decisions that must be made at critical control points. It is often difficult to provide the supervision necessary to ensure consistency in how staff follow the standard operating procedures in multiple levels. Next, we move on to the centralized or commissary food service system. The commissary food service system is also known as central kitchen, central food production or food factory, centralizes food production and food is transported to satellites or the receiving kitchens from where it is served to the customers. Here, food is usually purchased near the none end of the food processing continuum and food preparation is done in the central kitchen, which results in lower food costs. Labor costs also are lower because of the centralization of food preparation. This food service system takes advantage of the economies of scale as it is most effective when mass food production is required. One unique characteristic of the centralized food service system is that food is transported to external locations or the receiving kitchens, also known as satellites, for service. Two factors which have to be considered if food is transported is temperature and packaging. Food when transported either should be hot or cold, which impacts the delivery, and the equipment needs to be in that area in the receiving kitchens and also while during transportation. The next is packaging. Food can be sent to the receiving kitchen either in bulk or pre-plated, which impacts the equipment and labor needed at the receiving kitchen. In addition, food production and delivery schedules must also be coordinated. Centralized or commissary food service system is used in many types of food service operations, especially in airline industry, where there is a central production facility on or near the airport property where the food is prepared, pre-plated, sealed and either chilled or frozen. The pre-plated meals are placed in closed carts which are transported by truck to the flight where food is placed in the galley. The plates requiring rethermalization are placed in the convection ovens by the caterer. Assembly usually consists of placing the passenger's choice of hot entree on the tray that contains all of the cold items. Once the plane lands at its destination, the caterer sends a truck to the airplane to get the used carts, trays and dishes and returns them to the central food production facility for washing and sanitizing. Now let us see the advantages of this kind of centralized food service system. This system has many advantages, the prime one being lower food and supply costs. There can be significant cost savings from purchasing food and supplies in very large quantities needed for one large operation rather than for several small operations. Most of the food will be purchased near the non end of the food processing continuum where food costs are lowest. The second is purchasing power. Large centralized facilities provide the opportunity to have the purchasing power. The supplier or the vendor issues such as delivery schedules, size, quality, control and return policy may be reduced or eliminated. The ingredient control in this system can be improved. With a centralized food service system, there is greater control over ingredient which decreases food costs. Central kitchen is planned with an ingredient room where food items are pre-weighed and measured prior to preparation. This controls the quantities of ingredients used and ensures that standardized recipes are followed. The next is inventory control. Inventory control processes often are in place to ensure that food is issued in the appropriate quantities and there is good inventory turnover so that spoilage does not occur and food quality is maintained. This results in good fiscal management. Our next advantage is lowering of labor costs. Labor costs or the total number of employees can be reduced significantly using central food production. The high production quantities provide opportunities to increase productivity. This is an especially important selling point in today's environment where labor is scarce and expensive. Our next advantage is flexibility in scheduling food production. If food is transported cold, there is a great deal of flexibility in the scheduling of food production. This eliminates the peaks and valleys of demand for food and allows labor costs to be controlled. Production can be scheduled at any time during the day or any day of the week since it is separated from service. The next one is mechanization of preparation. Central kitchens utilize mechanized or custom-made equipment to increase the efficiency of food preparation and minimize the lifting and heavy work on the part of employees. Finally, it is quality control. Quality control can be achieved in central food production systems because they provide the opportunity to have more quality control in the food served, including the consistency of products throughout many service sites. There are three aspects of food quality you should know. One is the microbiological quality. Central production often lends itself to more control over the microbiological quality of food because of the number of controls that are in place at all points in the flow of food through the system. Hazard analysis critical control point or HACCP plans and procedures must be in place in a centralized food service system. Our next quality is aesthetic quality. Color, texture and appearance are aesthetic factors that are important in meals. These factors can be ensured through menu planning, purchasing and preparation procedures in place in a centralized food service system because of the consistency and control that is possible. The last quality is nutritional quality. Nutritional quality of the meals in a centralized food service system requires consistency and control throughout planning, purchasing and preparation. Consistency is the next advantage. Menus are planned and food is purchased and prepared centrally, which allows for consistency in which food items that are being served at any satellite kitchens. Better utilization of production facility. One central production facility allows better space and equipment utilization compared to the use of multiple small kitchens throughout a place. Also, productivity might be increased by getting contracts to provide food to other locations or other places like offices, schools and daycare centers. There is flexibility in location. Central production facilities can be located in less expensive areas of town. The primary consideration is that location should be accessible to highways for deliveries to and from facility. A central location within the satellite location may also be advantageous. Fully equipped kitchens which are not needed in each satellite kitchen saves equipment cost. Central food production eliminates the need for some equipment at the receiving kitchen, which results in space savings and lowers building costs. Now let us move on to see the disadvantages of centralized food service system. There are several possible disadvantages in this kind of food service system. The first one being high initial capital investment for building and equipment. The initial cost of building and equipping a central production facility may be very high. Issues such as payback period and growth capabilities need to be considered since the investment may be advantageous over the long term. The next disadvantage is that technically skilled employees are required. Some of the equipment and processes in a central food production facility are assembly line. These may be monotonous jobs that would not be appropriate for some employees. Our third disadvantage is equipment malfunctions, which can be significant at times. If an equipment fails, the impact is far greater for a central production facility than if a piece of equipment fails in a satellite kitchen. Efforts will be required to reduce the downtime of equipment. Preventive maintenance will be an extremely costly affair. Our next disadvantage is transportation costs. In conventional food service systems, transportation of prepared foods to receiving kitchens is not a cost, while in centralized food service systems, it can be significant. Costs will include delivery equipments, maintenance and repair and also insurance. Perceived loss of quality. The mass production in a central kitchen often is perceived by customers to be less desirable than traditional food preparation. Recipe modification may be required due to large quantities produced in a central kitchen. If products are chilled or frozen, recipe modification may be needed to maintain product quality. Current standardized recipes will need to be re-standardized when converting central food production. This may require purchasing different products and ingredients. Testing of products for both quality and taste will need to be an ongoing process. The other disadvantage is that food safety problems which can affect many customers. There will be a need to be very tight controls in place via a well-planned and implemented HACCP program to minimize the risks related to food safety. Now we are moving on to our third type of food service system, the ready prepared food service system. The ready prepared system, as you know, has been in use for many years. In ready prepared food service system, food is produced on site, held chilled or frozen, reheated and served to customers on site. Food production can be scheduled at any time since it is prepared and stored frozen or chilled for later rethermalization and service. This system also allows multiple day productions which can be done at one time. For example, for a menu 2 times in the next 30 days, the total amount of a particular ingredient can be made at one time, which can reduce labor cost. For this food service system, food is purchased all along the food processing continuum. For example, some items may be purchased from the none end and require full preparation. Soups, entrees, casseroles and sauces would likely be fully prepared on site from ingredients purchased at the none end of the food processing continuum. Other items may be purchased with some processing, while others may be purchased fully prepared, which require only portioning and service. Moving on to the advantages of ready prepared food service system. There are several advantages of ready prepared food service system, and the main ones are flexibility in scheduling food preparation. If food is prepared and stored frozen or chilled for later use, there is greater deal of flexibility in the scheduling of food production. This eliminates the peaks and valleys of demand for food and allows labor costs to be controlled. Production can be scheduled at any time during the day since it is separated from the service. Lower labor costs. This is another advantage because large quantities of food can be prepared at one time and stored for later heating and service. Thus, food can be prepared for several meals in one particular time. For example, spaghetti sauce could be prepared in large quantities to last even a month rather than preparing it every day or more than 3 times during the same time period. The disadvantages of ready prepared food service system. There are also several disadvantages of this ready prepared food service systems. The menu variety may be limited because some food items will not be suitable for the chilling or freezing process. There can be high initial capital investment for an equipment. The initial cost of an equipment for a ready prepared system may be very high, but considering issues such as payback period, lower food cost and lower labor cost usually will offset the initial cost in a short period of time. The next is perceived loss of quality. Mass production often makes it difficult to think of quality because it is perceived to be less desirable than traditional food preparation. Recipe modifications may be required constantly due to the large quantities produced. Also, if products are chilled or frozen, recipe modifications may be needed to maintain product quality. Some standardized recipe will need to be re-standardized when converting to a ready prepared food service system. This may require purchasing different products and ingredients at a single time. There can be a disadvantage of food safety problems. If there were to be a foodborne illness outbreak, many customers would be affected. There will be need to be very tight controls in place via a well-planned and implemented HACCP program to minimize the risks related to food safety. Now, we are going to see the last type of food service system, namely the assembly serve food service system. The assembly serve food service system traditionally has been the least common. Although that is changing due to the current operating environment, in today's environment where labor is scarce and expensive, there are many choices in foods that can be purchased that only require heating and serving. In this figure, food is purchased at the middle to complete end of the food processing continuum. The purchased food needs to be stored either frozen or chilled for later use. It is then portioned, reheated and served to customers. The advantages of assembly serve food service systems. The main advantages are lower labor costs. Labor costs are very less with assembly serve systems, as you can guess, because food is purchased in a ready-made form which is fully prepared, requiring little labor for production. There is again need for limited equipment needs because food is almost fully prepared. For most part, all that is needed is only reheating or rethermalization. Little equipment will be needed to rethermalize the food, portion and serve it to the customers. This results in lower initial capital expenses when building a new facility. More to the advantages, the assembly serve food service also has its disadvantages. The disadvantages include high food cost. High food cost is there because foods are purchased at the complete or nearly complete end of the food processing continuum, and most of the labor in preparing the product is already done. This increases the food cost of the product compared to preparing the menu item from scratch. Next is menu variety might be limited. While the variety of prepared menu items has increased in recent years, there is still not all the variety of items that can be prepared in a conventional or commissary or ready prepared food service system. Availability of menu items. The continued availability of menu items may be a problem for cycle menus. Some food service directors have included items on their menus only to find that the product has been discontinued, reformulated, or no longer carried by the distributor from whom they purchase. Next is the perceived loss of quality. The customers always feel homemade product is better than having a higher quality than in the assembled prepared items. Let us now move on to the combination systems. Often food service operations in school districts have characteristics of more than one of the food service systems. For example, schools which can have central production facilities may prepare some items in central kitchen and some food items in the receiving kitchens. This often is done to ensure the highest quality for a food item that is popular with students. Another example of a combination system can be a central kitchen which is used to prepare meals for some schools, and conventional kitchens are used to prepare meals for the other type of schools. This often is a more cost-effective method for serving large number of meals while still meeting the needs of the customers. In yet another example, some functions can be done by a bakery. The baking can be done in a central site and the baked products can be distributed to the customers throughout the place. Other productions can be done in the individual catering systems. Food service systems, though they can be followed by an individual catering establishments, either individually or in a combined form, it all depends on the establishment of deciding how much of cost they can spend in selecting a particular food service system, what are the needs of the customer, how the menu can be planned, what type of equipment and space can be available. All these decides the type of food service system a food service director has to plan. So, to conclude, let me tell you that any food service system is mainly decided by the catering establishment and can always be one which helps the catering establishment in a long run. Thank you.